and we're going to have 48 inches of water where you're standing.
Imagine that water is up to the second floor, they say.
There's really no way to get in or out of Johnston right now.
We have about 250,000 people without drinking water.
There will be no business as usual tomorrow, and maybe not.
As terrible as these things are, in some ways they bring out the best in people.
This looks like it's going to be the granddaddy of floods.
The granddaddy of all floods. The 500-year flood, or just the flood of 93. However you think of it, the flood of 1993 set a new point of reference in Des Moines and central Iowa. Previous comparisons were to the flood of 47 or the flood of 73. Those marks are now secondary to the flood of 93. Millions of dollars in crop losses, property damage, and lost business revenue. Homes destroyed, memories swept away with the receding waters. And in the middle of all that water, the state's capital found itself without a drop to drink. It was the largest American city ever left without drinking or sanitary water in modern times. The worst natural disaster in the state's history. The floods began long before the Des Moines waterworks were shut down. The previous 9 months were the wettest on record. Reservoirs were at or near their capacities. The seemingly constant spring rains prevented many farmers from getting into the fields for planting. The ground became saturated and stayed that way through the summer. Then on Friday evening, July 9th, the Raccoon River Basin above Des Moines virtually exploded. 8 inches of rain fell in Jefferson in a 3-hour period. All that water was headed downstream, causing record crests as it came. The cities of Des Moines and West Des Moines began preparing. The outlook wasn't good. West Des Moines Fire Chief Randy Bracken on Saturday morning, July 10th.
The city of West Des Moines cannot handle a crest in 24 feet in Van Meter. That means that in the city of West Des Moines will probably be 2 feet higher than we've ever been in the history of West Des Moines, Iowa, which means the 73 flood is surpassing that. We want to look at this as if the flood is going to come and we're going to have 48 inches of water where you're standing.
Upriver, the rain was continuing. WHO Radio's Gary Barrett.
Reports from the Iowa State Patrol, some roadways in the central part of the state around the Van Meter area have risen. We've had 8 inches of water over some roadways and in some areas in just a 20-minute period of time.
Des Moines and West Des Moines began bracing. Both put out an immediate call for volunteers.
West Des Moines officials are asking for some volunteer help this morning, and there are 4 locations that they are asking volunteers to go to help sandbag. What's happening right now is city officials are trying to construct a additional concrete block levee along the railroad tracks along Railroad Avenue to try and keep the Raccoon River from downtown West Des Moines. Record levels have already been set in Van Meter, we're told. Now, city officials here expect that record level in Van Meter to show up in West Des Moines in about 12 to 16 hours. That record was recorded at 8:30 this morning. So we're talking between 8:30 and midnight tonight.
Volunteers are being asked to assist in sandbagging operations around the 63rd and Grand. They're asking people to meet at Roosevelt High School, and they are going to be shuttling people from Roosevelt High School all the way to 63rd and Grand for the sandbagging efforts. Also, there is a volunteer evacuation that is going in place right now around the 63rd and Grand area. WHO Radio's Jordy Chapman again will have more information coming up when she
Just up the Raccoon River in Adel, WHO Radio's Van Harden gave a preview of what was coming.
I was born and raised here, and the most I can remember in floodwater was probably 7 blocks away from here, and now some of the water is as close as a block and a half from our house.
Des Moines wasn't alone. The same storm that was threatening the metro had already taken its toll in Ames.
I also drove over to Iowa State University and took a look around at Hilton Coliseum, of course, Sheeman Center, the Rec Center, all those buildings over in that area of the campus. There's still a lot of standing water on the ground there. Lincoln Way is open, but there are some detours around that part of the campus. I did notice that there appears to be some efforts to start pumping out all of the water that went into Hilton Coliseum. You heard estimates of some 14 feet of water in Hilton.
The flood of 93 was here. Hundreds of volunteers reported to sandbagging sites. Young and old, professional and blue collar, all worked side by side to protect their towns. All Saturday they worked raising the levees, sandbag by sandbag. But at 7:36 Saturday night, July 10th, WHO Radio broke the news. The forces of nature had won out.
This is Gary Barry, WHO Radio News, reporting from West Des Moines, and just to the east of Valley Junction, there has been a massive sandbagging effort that's been going along all along the railroad tracks here, all the way even east of 63rd Street, down into that area along Railroad Street to the east of 63rd, trying to save the floodwaters, or save the area from floodwaters. However, just about 15 minutes ago, they concluded their sandbagging operations to the east of 63rd Street down along the railroad tracks, considering it to be a total loss. What's happened now is down just about 100 to 200 feet from 63rd Street. Water has already begun seeping under the railroad tracks and has begun flooding into the railroad street itself and moving closer to 63rd. Officials not sure what kind of an impact that'll have on railroad, but at this moment it is starting to seep into those areas. So those homes that are east of 63rd Street down by the railroad tracks will find that they'll be taking on water rather quickly. Officials believe they have most of the people evacuated from that area already, so there shouldn't be anyone around except for a few sightseers. But they have pulled all of the people that have been sandbagging there, moved them further up as they're trying to reinforce the levee that they put in the closer to the Valley Junction. Well, I tell you, we told you that the levees had given way on the east and west side of the Valley Junction area, and it's already becoming really evident. I'm up right now at Elm and 5th Street, and the water is already flowing into the middle of the street here. It's taken over 6th Street and 7th Street from Railroad all the way up here to Elm, and it's still flowing in. We probably got about a good half foot to a foot of water now. It's all the way up to the sidewalks, not quite to the sandbags yet, but the floodwaters that they were expecting to start at about 8 o'clock, looks like they already have, and all the sandbaggers and everyone now starting to pack up and leave.
Gary, does this represent the surge of what was expected to be the crest, or does this just represent the breaking of the levee?
I think this is the start of the breakage of the levee, but it's kind of one and the same. The river levels are starting to really come
The
up.
river rose quickly through residential areas. Many in the Valley Junction neighborhood were caught by surprise. Some had to be rescued. West Des Moines Mayor Dino Rodish.
The remainder of the night, we're going to have rescue operations going. There's still a number of people left in the Valley Junction area, and I'd like to send out a plea to all of them to please, when a boat, we're going to send some of the National Guard in with trucks and boats, and would like all to vacate. And if their phone's still operable, please call in, give us an address so we can try to get in and find them.
Near downtown Des Moines, the river rolled into places where many never thought it would.
Well, I'm in downtown Des Moines right now, and I just drove through the area of on Walnut Street between 2nd and 3rd, and it's by the Civic Center, and water is starting to back up through one of the sewers or the drains there to about the curb height. And I just checked it out, and you know how downtown library, the parking lot is a little lower than street level.
Right.
Well, all the water is flowing into that area right now.
And as I crested Fleur Drive on my way north, as I'm coming over the top of the hill there by AIB, I looked ahead and I thought I could see water on Fleur Drive. And I thought, no, it can't be. It's way too close. But the water now, apparently from the Raccoon, is all the way up at least to the Holiday Inn at Valley Drive.
My computer screen. Who is at the plaza downtown. Dave, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Give us your report. You're over...
Well, we're looking over Court Avenue and the city, and Riverside Drive is now closed. The waters from the Des Moines River are lapping at the outfield walls of Sec Taylor. The parking lot, the west parking lot, has water throughout most of it. Water is running down 3rd Street from one of the rivers. Almost all of the arches in the bridges downtown have disappeared. The Grand Avenue Bridge and Locust Bridge, all the arches are gone. The river is up to the top of those. There are some arches appearing a little bit further down the street on Walnut and also on Court, but the water, we watched the water rise on both railroad bridges down the river a little bit further, and one is just absolutely covered with debris, and the water is up against it. The water's risen probably 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 feet this afternoon. on Des Moines River.
I can hear music in the background. Are you down there on Court Avenue?
I'm on the Court Avenue side right now, looking on Court Avenue. About half of the restaurants and night spots are closed. They've got water in their basements. Saturday night's closed.
So what's the source of the music then?
There's always somebody going down there to play.
Okay.
I don't know which restaurant that one's coming from, but
Do you think the people there who are there still on Court Avenue have any idea how much water surrounds them?
No, I don't think they have any idea, and I think in most cases they're having a good time.
The famous arches of the downtown bridges disappeared under the rising rivers. Since the Grand Prix racecourse crossed two of the bridges, the races for Sunday were called off. WHO Radio's Chuck Shockley.
I have just witnessed about a half-hour to 40-minute high-level meeting of some of the top brass, top administrative brass in the city of Des Moines. And I guess I'd just like to make a couple of general announcements first. The Grand Prix races for tomorrow have been canceled. I repeat, the Grand Prix events scheduled for tomorrow have just been canceled a few minutes ago by Grand Prix officials upon meeting with Des Moines Public Works Department Director John Belizzi. So that major announcement needs to be made at this point. Let me collect my thoughts here and play an excerpt of the meeting for you. The person speaking is Public Works Director John Belizzi.
Now, let me just tell you in general what's happened to the city. And I'm going to preempt you a little bit, Keith, and you can fill in when you want it. We have received on the Raccoon a crest that was some 2 days before prediction, and that's by the National Weather Service. This morning they started predicting possibly midnight, early morning tomorrow. I think that we got the water just a little bit quicker than that even. So notice was a real problem. The other thing is the Raccoon is an unprotected stream. There is a funded levee for the Raccoon that won't, and the Raccoon and Walnut Creek area, which doesn't help us now. West of Southwest 7th, it is generally an unprotected river with a series of berms, railroad embankments, etc., that historically have contained the water. This particular elevation of the Raccoon exceeds all previous records at the present time and still rising. The last one being in 1947. We're estimating, and the Corps is trying to calculate, some 60,000 CFS on the Raccoon, 45 plus or minus a little on the Des Moines. That exceeds the 100-year discharge under the East 14th Bridge, which happens after the confluence of the two rivers. So you can see this is a very unusual event, and it's not over now. Facilities such as Sec Taylor Stadium, although is an unprotected facility, for example, it's outside the levee system. And with the predictions we have, they should have a foot of water plus on the field there. And we're getting a number of boils inside the levee. When you get that kind of hydraulic pressure on the interior of the levee system, you cause some undercurrents. It might go along roots, little sand veins, and you get boils on the interior, which are too numerous to mention. Those can develop into breaches. So predicting just by clearance of a levee to the water is not adequate. Breaches in the levee at any place where there might be 3 or 4 foot clearance is as bad as overtopping.
As the water rose, power was cut to many electrical customers. John McCarroll of Midwest Power.
Well, hi, this is John McCarroll again.
Yeah.
We have two problems, really. The West Des Moines substation, I reported earlier, we had some water there. That's causing some problems, and that affects, Jan, about 3,700 customers in West Des Moines and on the west side of Des Moines. We also have a large outage on the far southeast side of Des Moines. That's affecting about 2,700 customers. So right now, as far as we know, a little over 6,000 customers in the Des Moines area affected by outages.
Those power outages would become secondary in a matter of hours. Around 1 o'clock Sunday morning, July 11th, the floodwaters topped the levee surrounding the Des Moines water treatment plant. The river engulfed the area surrounding the plant and eventually flowed into the waterworks itself. Des Moines drinking water was contaminated. The waterworks shut down its pumps. In the middle of the worst flood ever, we were left without any water at all. Because of the power outage, WHO studios were running on our emergency backup generator, but the water outage affected even that. Cooled by city water, the generator began to overheat as pressure dropped in the city system. It eventually shut itself down to prevent damage. WHO radio, KLYF, and TV 13 went dark around 6:20 Sunday morning. WHO engineers immediately scrambled to get the 3 stations back on the air to supply emergency information. A small generator was hooked up for power. It could only supply 1.5% of our normal power, so only the barest of equipment could be used. Portable sports broadcast gear became our controls, and the lobby our studio. WHO and KLYF were wired together, and at about 7 o'clock Sunday morning, Jan Michelson put on a headset microphone. The radio stations were back. As Des Moines woke up, it had continuous updated information about the crisis. Later in the morning, a larger generator was put online. The WHO radio newsroom was powered up, and Van Harden joined Jan for continuous updates on the flooding. Official information and phone reports from listeners kept Des Moines and all of Iowa informed with wall-to-wall coverage. At our studios, there was minimal electricity, no air conditioning, and reporters were constantly running in and out of the studio to update information. Listen closely, and you can hear the newsroom phones ringing chaotically in the background.
Meanwhile, I can just give you some of the news here. Flooding has left 250,000 central Iowans without drinking water and about 45,000 without electricity. A record flood this morning on the Raccoon River reached the 15-foot high walls protecting the Des Moines Waterworks treatment plant. That contaminated the water supply of Des Moines and surrounding communities. Officials say public water supplies won't be available until 5 days after the floods subside. Think about that. 5 days after the flood subsides. The floods also knocked out electricity to parts of Des Moines, including the Central Business District. That's why we are sitting here basically in the dark, other than some light coming through the window. We've got some emergency power just for our microphones here and the telephones. Many grocery stores have been unable to open, and people lined up for water outside and pounded on some of the windows. City officials told citizens not to panic, and Governor Terry Branstad said arrangements are being made for emergency water supplies. You just heard some corporate representatives telling us that water was going to be available in some areas. And then we had rain last night in some areas, and so, for example, Saylorville had 1.5 inches of rain, where that is exactly what we did not need, so that just added to the problem.
This is another person who is joining us on our telephone lines. Good morning.
Hello, I'm calling from a payphone near Merle Hay Mall.
Yeah.
I just drove in from Granger. I'd just like to report that Highway 141 is now open.
141 is open.
Yeah, there's a DOT crew there with a road grader. They're putting dirt alongside the road. The shoulder washed out, but it is open both directions. You can get through there now.
Now, on Merle Hay Road, is it open now down there along 80?
Merle Hay at 80 is still blocked off. There's another DOT crew there, and looks like they're looking over the bridge to me, checking it over.
But the water
through there now.
Is the water over the road still, or are they just checking out the bridge?
They're just checking out the bridge. They have that orange barricade fence up. It looks like they're looking over the bridge.
Well, that's a good sign. That means that might be open again soon.
Yeah, I just wanted to report 141's open.
I'm glad you did. Thank you, sir. Bye. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. On 1040 WHO Radio, caller, good morning.
Yeah, I have one comment and a couple of suggestions.
Yeah.
I think you guys are doing a great job, just a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Doing it very professionally. And if people do get in, people who don't have...
Listeners reached out over the air to help each other. They called in to offer tips on making water safe, which roads were passable, and reports on flooding in their neighborhoods. Others volunteered services to help in many ways during the initial hours of the crisis. This woman offered to translate the emergency information into Spanish.
And I know this may seem ridiculous to some people that anybody who could not speak English would be listening to WHO radio, but we've tried to have some of the people in that community told that we would try to pass along some information in Spanish on WHO. Could you repeat some information here that I'm going to give?
Yes, certainly. I'd be glad to.
We have a situation in Des Moines where we have contaminated water.
Tenemos una situación grave en Des Moines donde hay agua contaminada.
The water that comes out of your faucet has been contaminated because of the flooding conditions.
El agua que sale del candado está contaminado por la condición de las inundaciones.
Officials are saying that the water that is used from your faucet must be boiled for 2 minutes first.
Los oficiales dicen que es mucho mejor hervir el agua por lo menos unos 2 minutos o más, si sea posible, para que sea más sana.
We do not know how long this situation will continue.
No sabemos exactamente cuánto tiempo se va a durar esta situación.
And I will now give you a list of the places where this is in effect.
Y ahora les voy a dar la los nombres de las áreas donde está en efecto esta situación.
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Pleasant Hill.
Pleasant Hill.
Is this all going to sound the same?
Sí.
All right, I'll just give the list then.
Okay, sigue la listación de los nombres de los lugares.
Thank you very much for your phone call.
Yes, certainly.
At noon, Governor Terry Branstad reviewed the extent of the damage and announced the first water distribution sites.
We have about 250,000 people without drinking water in Des Moines and many of the suburbs. Fortunately, West Des Moines, because you have your own water facility, which you've protected with the help of a lot of volunteers, sandbagging still has good quality drinking water for your people. I want to announce at this time that we will have 29 sites in the Des Moines area in which citizens can go and get drinking water. Starting this afternoon, 3 of those should be opening about now at noon. The Hy-Vee store, 47th and Fleur, Dolls at Aurora and Merle Hay, and Hy-Vee at East 26th. Those 3 locations will have water available almost immediately. Throughout the rest of the afternoon, we will be bringing in water distribution sites at the other Dolls and Hy-Vee stores and also the Casey General stores in the area. We intend to have 29 total serving the area up and in operation before the end of this afternoon.
Sunday evening, Connie Murad spoke with Waterworks Director L.D. McMullen about what happened at the plant and when Des Moines could expect water service to be returned.
We're at Vets Auditorium, and Mr. McMullen, who of course is director of the Waterworks, was sitting there with his board, giving them an update on the situation, and all of a sudden the lights went out at Vets Auditorium. So they were in the dark, still going on with their meeting, and he's with us now. And boy, this is obviously the biggest thing that we've got going right now with this flood, Mr. McMullen, and you have some sobering news on when you guys are going to be operational.
We think that it's going to be probably 7 days by the time that we're back delivering water into the distribution system. But even at that time, the water won't be of the quality that will be able to be drunk without causing potential for illness. It's going to take us probably a month to be able to get everything disinfected in the treatment plant as well as disinfected in the distribution system, and we can give the all clear to our consumers.
Right, so as you hear, I mean, that's just phenomenal. We're going to be without drinking water for probably a month, and that is being optimistic, you even admitted, because looking at how other cities have had to deal with this, it takes a long time.
Well, when you're working with 800 miles of pipeline, it takes a little bit of time to go through all those and get them all disinfected. These type of accidents that occur are natural phenomena. They really aren't an accident, really cause a lot of problems in a treatment plant.
If you can just go over, if you would, what happened the other night when the levee broke. I mean, you were working with the Weather Service, and they had said, okay, this is probably what you're going to have to do. Can you kind of go over that with us?
Well, we've been working with the Weather Service because they have a very good computer model to predict what was going on upstream. In the process of doing that, we were being told that it would be somewhere in the range of 124 to 125 as a crest. We were working towards that and decided to add another 2 feet just for cushion, so that would take us up to basically 127 is the height of our levee. Unfortunately, we ended up at 128. It was just a foot above. Well, we built the levee system basically 4 feet higher than any other flood that had ever occurred in the history of the waterworks. And so we thought we were pretty safe with 4 feet. We unfortunately didn't build it quite high enough, and depending on who you talk to, some people say that it was a 500-year flood, some people say it was a 1,000-year flood. Needless to say, it was a big one.
The Des Moines water plant wasn't the only utility suffering from the flood damage. WHO Radio Stacy Farrell reported on the cause of the mass power outages that affected parts of town far from the high waters.
Press conference at Midwest Power this afternoon about 12:30. And basically, this is what's going on. There's about 30,000 people that are still out of power at this time. Now, what has happened is there are about 36 substations that serve Des Moines, West Des Moines, Clive, Urbandale, etc., all the Des Moines suburbs. And if you don't know, a substation is a main distribution center for electricity for the area that it serves. And there's about 7 of these substations that are in about 6 feet of water right now. Downtown is the main trouble spot, which is served by the River Hills substation on Grand Avenue. And last night's rain just did that station in. Authorities at Midwest Power say they were bailing water out, they were pumping water out, and as soon as that rain started, they just couldn't do any more. They just had to let it go. They also say it's going to be at least 7 days before the downtown area gets power, maybe even longer. And other residents can expect about that long also. Again, Midwest
Throughout the afternoon and evening, WHO Radio abandoned regular programming, often simulcasting with KLYF. There were constant updates on water distribution sites, emergency shelters, and procedures for coping with the water outage. Monday, July 12th, brought sunshine and blue skies, a welcome emotional lift. The sandbagging continued at the Des Moines and West Des Moines water treatment plants. In West Des Moines, hundreds of volunteers showed up to build a 15-foot-high sandbag levee to stave off the waters creeping slowly toward the plant. In Des Moines, the National Guard began dropping sandbags by helicopter to shore up the levee. Reminders that their work will remain. Numerous trees around the plant had to be cut down to allow the choppers access. Downtown, it was apparent there'd be no business as usual. Without water pressure, there was minimal fire protection, no sanitary facilities. Scattered power outages shut down computers, copiers, and faxes. Many of the main streets leading into downtown were blocked by flooding. Southwest 7th and 9th, Fleur, even I-35, all were underwater. Mayor John Pat Dorian put out a plea for downtown businesses to scale back operations to skeletal crews. Later in the day, Mayor Dorian would issue an official proclamation that only essential services should continue.
Is that we are still asking businesses to discontinue trying to have a full-scale operation in the city of Des Moines because of the limited access in and out of the community, and also the lack of water. Sanitation facilities are not there, so it's in the ability for the city to suppress a large fire would be stretching our limitations at this time. So that is, our position is that there will be no business as usual tomorrow, and maybe not, as Councilmember Daniels pointed out in our meeting, we probably are not going to be able to have this on Wednesday or Thursday. This can be ongoing for a while, where we'll be asking businesses not to try to function at full scale. I'll just read this. Pursuant to the powers vested in me as mayor under Chapter 372 of the Iowa Code and under Chapter 2 of the City Code of Des Moines, I do hereby declare and proclaim that a state of public emergency exists within the city of Des Moines, Iowa, due to flooding of the Des Moines and Raccoon Rivers, pursuant to the emergency powers vested in me.
Des Moines was not alone in its misery. Iowa Governor Terry Branstad had visited all parts of the state in previous weeks. Flooding, it seemed, had spared no one. He turned to the federal government for assistance.
The good news is that I think the federal government is going to really do what they can. I was pleased to hear the Vice President was in the Midwest again today. He was in Illinois and Missouri. And tomorrow, FEMA will open their offices at 6 locations around the state of Iowa. We've now asked that all 99 counties be declared a presidential disaster area.
Monday's calm weather was deceiving. Walking around the dry areas of town, it was often easy to forget that there was a catastrophe around us until you turned on your faucet or reached for the handle on the toilet. The weather allowed officials and the public a chance to step back and regroup before the next punch early Tuesday morning.
This is a severe weather alert required by the emergency broadcast system under the authority of the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service in Des Moines has issued a flash flood warning effective until 11:45 this morning for persons in Dallas County and southern Polk County. At 5:40 a.m.
According to the National Weather Service, this is an extremely dangerous situation. If you are reports now of 2 inches in Madrid, we've had heavy rain in Urbandale, we've had heavy rain in Adel, and most of this is in or around the Raccoon River Valley. Because of what you have heard today, they have told us at WHO Radio that they're calling off the sandbagging effort, which is a tragedy as well. They had started a special effort to try to get the waterworks restored as quickly as possible, and they had a special effort. Is that thunder? Man, was that loud. Whew. You don't hear that in a radio studio, soundproof radio studio very often, but that was loud. This is an emotional roller coaster for everyone. We've been through a lot. It's been awful for so many people. And yesterday, as the sun was out for so many hours, I think people finally started to feel a little better about this, and now we're getting whapped again here today.
When it seemed all was lost, a message of hope came from the federal government.
All right. I understand that Governor Branstad is on the line. Governor, are you there?
Yes, I am.
This is Van.
Yes, Van. Well, I just got word from the federal government that my request for all 99 counties to be designated disaster area has been approved. This opens up assistance for homeowners and renters immediately.
6 disaster application sites opened across the state that day. After the rain subsided Tuesday, the work continued at the Des Moines Waterworks to prevent a recurrence of Sunday's flooding. L.D. McMullen.
We are concerned about the water that is falling, or the rain that is falling on the watershed. We're back down to the point that the water level is about 4 to 5 feet below the top of the levee system. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens on that. The Guard and the Corps are doing what they can to build the levee system up. Our plan is to continue to work until the water starts coming over the top, if it does come over the top. And it's still our hope to be able to get those large motors out of there today so they can at least be starting to be repaired. That's the key part in being able to get the treatment plant back online.
The water is 4 to 5 feet below the top of the levee that exists right now in the water.
Correct.
How much height are they adding to it?
They're adding 3 feet.
Also on Tuesday, WHO Radio Sue Danielson took an incredible tour of the Waterworks plant. She took WHO Radio listeners on an exclusive trip through the plant live on the air to get a feel for the damage and the work ahead.
All right, I have to describe this, guys. This is an absolutely phenomenal site. There is debris. There is all kinds of stuff here in the water. Of course, again, we are at Waterworks Park. We're, boating along Fleur Drive to the... my sense of direction, to the west of Fleur Drive, and we're headed right now, sorry I keep cutting out here, we're kind of going in a little grove of trees, but we are headed toward the latest levee and a bank, and we're going to stop right now. Okay, we pulled up to the side here, and they're asking us to get out of this thing, so let's keep on for just a little while. We are walking up to the building here at Waterworks. I just can't believe this site. There is water up here everywhere.
Take us around?
They're kind of leading us here toward the back of the building. And there are workers here trying to work and survey the situation here at Waterworks. You heard earlier on WHO how L.D. McMullen had said that the pumps were so severely damaged. The pumps, of course, that's the main problem because they got to get all this water out. There was some good news and some bad news with the flooding regarding their operations at Waterworks Park. They were able to get in sooner than they had thought they would, but they do have a lot of damage to take care of, and that's why they're letting us in here to kind of take a look at it. It's exciting and thrilling. I mean, this
is the first time anybody's seen this other than just the authorities.
It's sad, though. It really is. It's sad to see all the water rushing through this part of town and around the Waterworks area. We're right next to kind of a high voltage area, if you will, a Midwest power station of some sort, and we are on high ground for the moment. A lot of mud, of course, but it's... I don't know, yeah, I mean, we're excited, but we're also being hurried around. It's just amazing. You just cannot believe all the water back here, and it's right up next to the building. Remember, not too long ago, they had their nitrate removal facility. There's the helicopter right now. You can hear it. They're coming down.
National Air Guard coming down, and oh yeah, the blades in the chopper, of course, making waves throughout Waterworks Park as it heads on west and up over the trees again. You might remember the nitrate removal facility, a very, very expensive nitrate removal facility. I don't know what the status of that is, but that's a brand new building out here at Waterworks Park that just opened it not too long ago, and there is water up to that. It looks like at one point it was up several feet anyway, and they have concrete barriers, and they have things trying to block it to protect that facility, because that's brand new, and I guess we're going to head on out, guys. We're being ushered to take a look at some more of the damage.
Now, Sue, are you outside the building and they're walking you around?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'll tell you where we're located. We are kind of on the north of the main Waterworks buildings and behind the fence, obviously. So we're flanked by water on both sides. There goes the Chinook helicopter directly above me. It is a thrilling sight to see. It's got a huge load of sandbagging supplies. A police officer not too long ago informed me that that's what they're doing. They're bringing in as much sandbags as they possibly can to try and protect this place. The other noise here is a tractor behind me, and that is part of the pumping operation. So try and get this water out of here so they can start working on this cleanup effort. It's very noisy back here. There's also a lot of debris floating. I know I've been mentioning that, but it's just unbelievable. And the rush of the water being pumped out of this place, it's just phenomenal. They've got several pumps going, pumping the water from the area just to the north of the Waterworks nitrate removal facility, and it's pumping back into the flooded area, Fleur Lake, if you will. And John Sellers and I are walking currently a little bit to the, turned around, west. Thank you, John. Out of that boat ride, I was a little worried. Where were those life jackets anyway? They told us it was going to be kind of dangerous, and they said, well, make sure you put on your life jackets, but suddenly they didn't pass them out, so...
Sue, do they have intentions of letting you in that building, or is that even possible?
I'm not sure where they're taking us at the moment, actually, Van. We're just going to go with the flow here. Sorry about the pun.
That's all right. We'll stick with you.
Where are we going? To talk to the manager. Okay, we're going to go talk to L.D. McMullen, of course, of Waterworks. And we saw him earlier at a press conference at East High School, and he had a little bit of an update, and we hope to find out more and see and describe to you firsthand some of the damage inside this place. That, of course, is the reason why so many of us in the metro area are having to go stand in line and get drinkable water and boil our water and that sort of thing.
I want you to know we're going in a building, so we may drop out here for a moment.
Okay, we are in a very smelly building. There is mud and water on the floor. This is the Waterworks building. It appears, the smell, try to describe this, it is just worse than any damp basement I've ever smelled. Does this place normally smell this bad? No.
It's the chlorine smell type.
I don't smell any chlorine.
Well, the whole place smells like diesel fuel.
Diesel fuel, yes, because of the pumps.
But that's common.
Okay. On either side of us, we're walking down a large hallway. It's a white brick hallway, cinder blocks, and on either side of us, it appears there are water pools. Is that right? That's for monitoring. They're filters.
The chlorine feed, and it would say there's nothing damaged in there.
Well, that's good. Walking down steps here. Whoa! We're slopping through the mud. Okay. We're in an area now that is a parking lot, and it looks like it, judging from the stop sign, it looks like it's up about 3 feet. Water. A lot of mud. That's what we're walking through. That's muddy grass. Better than muddy concrete, which is very slippery. L.D. McMullen is here. Nice to see him.
We lost all you guys. You fell on into the river. There's a more important story someplace.
L.D. McMullen, we're broadcasting live on WHO Radio, and we just wanted to say hello.
Good to see you.
Are you going to talk to us a little bit about some of the problems out here? Or what's going to go on?
I am going to talk about it a little bit. The Primary procedure that we're at is to try to get our large pumps online. They're the large blue things that are located over here on that we see these people working around. They are primarily testing them to find out if, in fact, that we're going to disconnect them and ship them off someplace to be dried out and put back together again. What you walked through there was the filter building, and you can see that the filter building is the floor, and it's not too bad. Let me take you, for those of you that weren't with me before, let me take you into here. And this is our control center and pumping station, and you can kind of see what our current efforts are.
Okay, we're going into another mud-soaked building. And L.D. McMullen.
It's like really slippery.
Yeah, I know.
This is one of the best pieces of information that we probably have, and that is, this is our emergency generator that never got underwater. It's intended to be a standby unit in case we lose electrical power. It's a $1 million piece of equipment that didn't get damaged at all.
That's good. We're describing an emergency generator that takes up the course of this large building here, probably 20. And it's a huge piece of equipment that L.D. McMullen says that it did not incur any damage, and that's certainly some good news in the wake of all of the damage that did occur here and all of the problems that folks are going to have cleaning out those pumps and getting us some clean, fresh drinking water again. We're continuing to walk through the waterworks, walking by an open doorway for a moment there, and you can still hear some of the pumps and the tractors sliding down a ramp in our shoes and mud, stopping again at another doorway. And we'll describe what's going on here.
Because we don't want to get in their way. We don't want to hold them up at all. What we're doing here is, this is the switchgear cleanup. We're trying to get all of the mud and the dirt out of the switchgear. Our electric power has to come in from Iowa Power, Midwest Resources, and then goes through this equipment and then goes off to our various motors and pumps. And this has to be cleaned up, dried up, before we can do anything else.
When did they let back in here?
We came in at about 3 o'clock this morning.
And what kind of a job are they going to be working? Just until it's done, 24 hours?
We're going to be working 24 hours a day.
Smell of diesel fuel in the air. Everybody around here in boots, hip waders, whatever kind of possible foot gear they need so they don't slip and fall on these. Oh dear. Oh, we've just walked into a room that is just beyond belief. It is a huge room on either side of the hallway. This at one time, I'm sure, was an absolutely sparkling, clean, beautiful facility. And right now, we're looking at 2 pools of thick, dirty, contaminated water. And this is hard to describe. But the walls are up, I don't know, how many feet up did the water get in here, L.D.?
It came up right to the window level.
Okay, so the window level. You can see a film of mud along the window, the bottom windowsill, and above that, beautiful white brick above the muddy film and the windows, of course, and then below you just see 2 big black pools of mud and a lovely iron railing and wood railing that goes around these pools, which would on a normal day, I'm sure, be quite a showplace to look at the pools of water. And today, it's something quite different than that. A lot of sunlight in here, and so you can certainly get a good view of the trash and the pop cans that are floating on top. There's a bucket of paint down there, I think, and some other metal pans. And
we won't hold this up anymore, but what we're talking about in here is, this is the worst damage that we probably have. This is our pump room. We're standing up here on this bridge, which is located about 14 feet from the floor. There are 2 pumps that are located down here 14 feet underneath this water. And we're also, over here where you see this black pipe, is basically a diesel-driven pump that is located underneath about 8 feet of water. That's what you smell. you smell this strong diesel fuel smell is from this diesel pump that is located underneath the water. This room will be the last place that we will end up working in, although we are dewatering it because we have some pumps that are basically out over on this side, which are our groundwater pumps that we want to restore also, and we have to dewater this building to be able to get to those particular pumps. But the diesel-driven pump is going to be one of the last things that we end up restoring.
This part of the plant is one that tourists came through often?
Oh, yes. This was one of the highlights of the tours.
And right now?
It might still be a highlight of the tour, but in awe rather than in pleasure.